Hey y'all, how are you doing? I am very excited to see you today. I am really excited to dive into our next video on flipping the switch on Sigma 6 and how I'm using all the things I learned as a project manager to now work in the author business full time. And I'm sharing it all with you and hoping to take you along for the ride. I'm going to have a lot of links in the description box below that are going to take you to some really good information from some really smart people. And I hope that you enjoy it and find it interesting. I would love it if you would please subscribe to my channel. It really does help me, my little channel, grow just bit by bit. Every subscription, every like, every comment really helps. So with that said, I am Jody Jean Daniels. I am the owner of this wonderful channel, Just Right, and I am happy you are here. And today we are going to be talking about brainstorming. And as you can tell by the ticker running below, it is more than just your story. There's a lot of steps and things you need to think about when you are brainstorming a new story idea other than the story. So let me jump over and share my screen. I'm going to have to jump up 2 times because I've got a PowerPoint presentation and also I have a sample pulled up. And I'm going to jump over into OneNote and show you some information there as well. So here we go. Let me jump on in. Okay. So today we are going to dive into our first topic of our new series. And this is where I am going to show you how to think like a project manager while being a creative writer. We are all running businesses at the end of the day, and even though we're authors and creatives, so we need to think in a mindset of a business owner at the same time while we're being creative. All right. And it jumped on me, you guys. It's not showing. There I am. Okay. It's fussing at me. Okay, so I'm going to go and show you. This is where and I've talked to you guys about this before, I capture everything in OneNote. OneNote is my go-to for setting it all up. So let me pull that information up for you so I can show you guys that. Nope, wrong book. Here we go. Here we go. This is what I want you guys to see. Okay, now, when I set these up as a project manager, this is the way I did it. The way I've showed you guys how to do it in the past is how I was doing it when I just became an author. This is how I set them up in individual things, individual notebooks back in the day. So as you can see, I have a brainstorming notebook. I have a plotting and planning notebook. I have a writing notebook. This is where my 0 drafts are normally housed. This is my editing and beta notes. This is where I am still learning. I have been using a big spreadsheet that intimidated a lot of you guys. Some of you, I know you want to see it, and I am going to go into it and show you how it works. But I use this spreadsheet when it comes to my plotting and planning my year. It is a rapid release project strategy sheet that I created in Excel. And I'm going to go through that and show you guys how it works. But again, I know a lot of you are like, I don't know about that. So I totally get that. I'm going to show you some different ways of doing it. Same thing goes for your publishing. I, again, use that spreadsheet, but I'm going to go through it and add some things. And then we also have to have a place to archive old dialogue scenes and fight scenes and love scenes and things like that that we might want to use in the future. So let me pull our slideshow back up now that you've seen that and where that is. And you know what? Let me show you really quickly, just in case. Let me show you how to add a new notebook. Okay. If you're in OneNote, you want to add a new notebook, you're going to add your notebook name. So I will pick on Jess today and say Jess Wheeler's notebook. If I can spell, right? And then it's going to give you a message that says your notebook has been created. Would you like to share it with other people? At this point, if you want to share this with people who are already on your team, who are already working with you, you can. You just hit share. Right now, we're not going to do that, so I'm just going to hit not now. And then this is where I would go in and I could start setting up my sections for the notebook. And I could rename it anything I wanted to. I could name this one could be Jess's new draft. And this one could be, let's see, could just make it edits. So we can make it whatever we want. And that's what I love about these and how they set up so easily and so quickly. I mean, they're super fast to set up. That's what I really love about them. And the thing I love about my brainstorming notebook is that there's no limit to the space that I have. And I can put in my hooks, I can put in my beginnings, I can put in character picture shots that I'm thinking in my head. Really, really comes in handy. All right, so let me jump back over to our slideshow. Excuse me. Let's do it from current slide. Okay. So now that you guys understand and remember my love of OneNote and how I geek out over it, I'm sorry, but I do. I want to show you, I use it in conjunction with the project management technique and it has just helped me become even more successful. It has just really, really helped. I think it's going to be a great tool for you to use. But I will also come back in a minute and show you some analog examples as well, because I know some of you wanted that too. All right. So now, this is a Sigma 6 type strategy where you basically have a charter for your project. So what I did was I just kind of turned it around and I'm using it as a decalogue. So defining your novel's decalogue. And what that is a concise plan that you're going to stick to and you're going to follow it like a contract. I know that may sound a little bit middle school, writing a contract with yourself, but hear me out. I've done it. And it has really helped me and kept me on track. Making these decisions up front about my book, what my hook is, what the conflict, and just everything ahead of time has really helped me. I mean, I was a total pantser, and now I've become more of I guess I'm a plantser. So in the business world, what your contract, your charter has is your core value, your problem statement, overarching goal, scope of the project, your milestones, and team charter. And we talked about that last week, just a little bit on in that, but we didn't really look at the 6 values as how to brainstorm them. And yes, you do need to brainstorm your genre, your milestone date, your editor, who you're going to use. Those are all things you need to be thinking about when you start brainstorming the novel. All right. Because your hook is your enticing core value of your story. And your problem statement is the conflict. Your goal is to publish a book and have people read it and have hundreds of readers. Excuse me. And the scope, that's your genre. And we will be understanding going through that portion even more. I think around week 8 when we're going to do marketing and jump into that. So we will cover that even more. But the project milestones are the dates you also need to think about so you can compare it back to your goal date of publishing. So you can kind of decide, okay, is this in line with my overarching goal of my published date? And then the last thing we're going to look at is who's on your team and how to brainstorm that information. Okay. So again, just a cute little thing for you guys to look at and remember: your hook, your conflict, when do you want to publish, what's your genre, milestone dates, and who's your team. Okay. Now, what is your hook? Okay. The term hook it's commonly used in our industry, and it is describing the opening section of your work. And it's really crucial because it sets the tone for the rest of your work. And that is a deciding factor in if a reader's going to finish reading your book or not. I've always said that the cover art, when they pick it, makes them pick it up. When they turn it over and they read the back that you've written, your blurb, your intro, and the information about you on the back of the book, that's what makes them buy it. And then what makes them a fan and keeps them reading is the first paragraph of your book. The first paragraph and your hook has to grab their attention. It has to hold them captive, and it has to keep them engaged the entire time they're writing. So brainstorming your hook is crucial. I can't say it enough. And there's different types of hooks. And I found a really interesting article, and it was over on, oh wait, I skipped the page and didn't get the article. Oh, it's on Pro Writing. It's on the prowriting.com that we all use and love. And I found this, and it was so interesting because I really did not realize how heavily I was leaning into just one hook. There's the statement hook, which is, strong declaration, the statistic hook, interesting fact. The quote hook, it's normally from like a famous person that everybody typically would know and recognize. That kind of brings them in. And then there's the description hook. And that is the hook that I lean heavily into. And it's also the hook that grabs me the most. A descriptive hook where I am immersed in the scene, where I lose track of time and I am just reading because I want to know what happens next. I realize that is key for me as a reader. And after doing some research, I realized the people who read my books, it's for them as well. So the description hook is the hook that I use the most. Now, you, as another writer, you may not use that hook. You may, have like a short, straightforward sentence that just kind of hooks and captivates and engages your reader in the same way a deep description that immerses somebody would. You could also have the last one, the anecdotal note, the hook. I always think that that's really fun, but as a fiction writer, I don't really know how I would incorporate that in with my writing. All right, now, what is your conflict? It has to have conflict. Your story has to have that headbutting moment. Conflict is fundamental to it in that it drives your narrative. The clash between the two opposing forces can control. It's like a tension. It's like two magnets that just keep pushing each other apart in a way, is what you want that conflict to feel like in the beginning. And it can arise from anything. It can be, environment, society, other characters, a protagonist, especially in fantasy and in sci-fi, like I write, and my action adventure stories, like I write. But the thing to keep in mind about conflict is there's two types. There is external conflict. That's something that's happening out here that the character has no control over. It can be a physical obstacle, national disaster, social obstacle, society norms, that type of thing. But there's also, and this one is the most, to me, important because I feel like it can drive and just make the story more complex, is internal conflict. What the character is struggling with about their own fears, their own doubts, and the conflict of the desires that they want versus what maybe other people in their family or other people in their group may want. And I like how you can use that internal conflict to really build an arch in a character, and it shows through all their emotions and their beliefs. So it gives you so much ammunition to show and not tell when you have an internal conflict. So conflict is crucial. We have to have it. And again, the more you lean into your conflict, the more you're going to be able to create those smooth character arches, in my opinion. Now, is this not the question of the hour for indie authors? When will I be ready to publish this book? There are some things to keep in mind, and there is a really good article from Author Imprints that I've linked here, and I've put it in the description too, that gives you just some things to think about, because nobody knows when you can publish your book better than you do. But the thing to remember are these four things. What elements of your book depend on other people? Your editor, your cover artist, your beta readers, your alpha readers. Blurbs and testimonial, how important are they to your book? Do you need to send out advanced reader copies before you publish? How much time do you need to edit? And how complete is your book? Where are you at? So thoughtfully choosing your book's release date is very important. Book marketers consider the period before a book is released as the most valuable time for marketing, because once the book is released, it loses its novelty. You've got about 30 to 90 days between your pre-release and your release and your marketing, because at that point, people forget about they forget about your launch, they forget about the excitement. So you've really got 30 to 90 days to maximize all that time so you can get readers to buy your book, become fans of your book, to tell other people about your book, so it will snowball and keep growing. Okay, so when you pull out your calendar to look at it, remember your work-life balance. Okay, there's a I'll have it linked below. There is a video I have about it. Think about all the irons you have in the fire. How are you going to plan this? And whether you do it on a rapid release project strategy sheet like I do, or you do it in a happy planner, or even, if you saw my friend Sarah Cannon, that one down in the bottom corner, get my little pointer so I can show you which one. This one right here, this has been created by Sarah Cannon. It's a yearly planner that I can pull it up for you, but I can't share it to you. But if you join Sarah's newsletter, you can have access to this and all of her community library of author goodies. And there's so much stuff. But no matter which way you look at your calendar, please keep in mind burnout is a real thing. There's a time to say no and there's a time to say yes. And make sure there's some white space on your calendar when you're filling it out, because self-care is really crucial. All right, now let's look at the genre. Now you can't really see this, I know, unless you're on an extremely large screen. But what I did, I have gone ahead and I've took the link, which is from StoryGrid, and I took the little art and I have put it on my Patreon for free. So just jump on over to my Patreon. Those links are below, how to get to that. And you can see this. But I use this cheat sheet for just about everything that has to do with drama. Because, okay, in the center of it, you have your story, right? And then I want to always think about my content. All right, then I choose which one of these it's going to be. Is it going to be love story, thriller, crime, horror, action, western? What is it going to be? And I choose my content. I choose my structure. I choose my style, which is normally cinematic. And then, my reality is it's a fantasy. Most of my science fiction, my vampire werewolves, which I've pulled those down because they're being revamped into screenplays. So those books aren't for sale right now, but I may put those back up. I'm just not sure. And then time. And considering mine are sagas mostly and series, then mine are going to be long. But after you use this little wonderful piece of information, you really can nail down what your genre is. And then your next step, which we're going to cover later in the series, is how to find your ideal reader. Who reads that genre? The genre that you just defined, who reads it? So let's jump over. Okay, now setting your milestone dates. If your goal, let's say my goal, I'll give you specific dates. I think that's the best way to do this. Yeah. My goal for book 4 is to launch it on September 27th of 2024. Okay. So with that information that I know that was my overarching goal, when I set that overarching goal a few steps back, now I'm going to look at my milestone dates and see if that actually makes sense, or if the overarching goal needs to change, then we change it. Because this whole part is still brainstorming. You're still brainstorming, getting everything together and everything set up. You're just writing and creating your decollage, your charter, your contract with yourself. So let's say I did choose, which I think I have. Yeah, it's September 27th. I'm going to brainstorm on April 22nd and 23rd. So I'm going to give myself 1 to 2 days. I'm going to give myself 2 to 3 days for my outlining and plotting and planning. I'm going to give myself, oh, I take that back. For my outlining, I'm going to give myself 3 days for each act. So let's look at that. That's going to be like April 23rd through the 26th. And then my zero draft, when I'm actually beginning to write, I'm going to be writing that zero draft from April 27th to about June 15th, when I'm doing this type of math right here to know what I need. Then from the 15th to the 18th of June, I'm going to edit, self-edits. And then I want to get my book on the 18th of June to my editor. And she needs normally between 15 and 30 days. I always put it down for the 30, but I normally get it back a lot sooner than that from her. But I always, life happens. Then I will clean up my editor notes. I normally give myself about 7 days. So that would be from maybe August 16th to the 23rd. Then I'm going to send it to my beta readers for about 25 days. So that's going to be the 23rd to the 17th. And then let's see, we're going to polish it when I get it back from my betas. That normally only takes me about 5 days. So I could be done with that by the 22nd, and I could be polishing it the whole time. And now my marketing, I started marking back here when I was in my self edits, because I have it set up to when I start my self edits, I have my cover art back. So again, we're going to get to that brainstorm in a minute, but that's when my marketing starts. It starts all through here and continues through here. And then I'm going to go ahead and post it on the 24th for pre-order on Amazon and Draft Digital on the 27th. So yes, my overarching goal will work. Now, I have had times where I have looked at something, thought I had a great date picked out, went through, did this process of my brainstorming for the milestones, and realized I was way off. And I had, because I wasn't married to the idea yet, and I had time to change everything, I was able to go in and revamp everything during my brainstorming, and it wasn't that big of a deal. All right. So lastly, who is on your team? Okay. And yes, now when you are just in the brainstorming situation, you need to be lining up your editor, your cover artist, and your beta readers. I know that it's a daunting task. I know there are many places to find editors online, but the problem is who to choose and how to do it. And I personally think the best way is word of mouth and personal recommendations. I would say the same for cover artists. If you ask around, if you ask other indie authors or even trad, they will tell you who to avoid. I have noticed that authors are very protective of their cover artist. A lot of times you will get, well, my cover artist is booked, so you wouldn't be able to get in with her, but I tell you who not to use. You'll get that sometimes from people. Other people will be like, oh, my cover artist is incredible. You're going to love her or him. Here's their information. Give them a call. Tell them I told you. Beta readers are a little bit more tricky, but I have found the best way to find them is from your writing community. And even with people you sprint with, like I know several of the people that are in my Monday night and Thursday night sprint groups that beta read for each other, or that are in a critique group together. And that's certainly, absolutely one way you can go to do that. But again, we'll get into all that a little bit deeper later on in the series about editors and cover artists and beta readers. So thank you. Thank you for staying here with me while I went on and on. But I am very excited about this topic. So I would like to ask you to please subscribe to my channel and like this video. It really does help my channel grow. If you need anything from me personally, then I would ask that you please go to my link tree that is linked below. You can get to my books. You can get to my Calendly and set a time to talk to me. You can get to my Patreon where there's all this wonderful free stuff. And there are some $5 tier things that are on there as well. If you want to support me that way, that would be great. I would appreciate it. But I am really looking forward to diving into this and getting more information for you guys and myself so we can go on this journey together and learn how it all works. I appreciate you. And you know what I'm going to say. Before I say it, I had to grab my mouse so I can get everything pulled up. I may not be everybody's cup of tea, but I'm an awesome group of people's double shot of whiskey. And I am so happy and I am so proud that you find me just right. I love you, love you. I will see you Monday night during spring.